Being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. Choose your hard. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello. Today, we are talking about choosing your hard. You may have seen the memes go around or the social media posts go around on Instagram or Facebook about choosing your hard. And there's variations of this, but one that I just pulled up after Googling this says, marriage is hard, divorce is hard. Choose your hard. Obesity is hard, being fit is hard. Choose your hard. Being in debt is hard. Being financially disciplined is hard. Choose your hard. Communication is hard. Not communicating is hard. Choose your hard. Life will never be easy. It will always be hard, but we can choose our hard. Pick wisely. It's all about choices. Do you want to be fit? Do you want to be fat? The choice is yours. You are able to choose whether you want to be financially disciplined or financially undisciplined, which means not having enough savings, having more month than money, all of those different types of things. We have decisions and there are choices to be made. And that's why I wanted to record this episode, because it's just a reminder that ultimately we all have to choose our hard. Which path are we going to take? Which decisions are we going to make? Every single day when we wake up and we see our calendar and maybe we've got different types of activities on there, some that are more important than others to us, or possibly some that we have to do, things that we don't necessarily want to do at times. But realistically, we do have a choice. I was on a call the other day just talking about how oftentimes people who get into trouble or get arrested, a lot of people were in the wrong place at the wrong time, quote unquote. Arguably, they might say that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, but realistically, it was their decision to go to that place. Or if they got a DUI, for example, it was their decision to have a few drinks and then get in their car and then drive home. And then someone else rear-ended them, but they still got in trouble for driving under the influence, right? So you could argue that they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, but the extreme ownership, if you've heard Jocko talk about extreme ownership, everything is your fault, discipline equals freedom. Realistically, that person made the decision to have those drinks, to get in the car and drive instead of taking an Uber or calling someone to ask for a ride, for example. Choosing your hard can be tough to do. We like to be comfortable. We often get complacent. We like to do things that are within our comfort zone. But like I said to start this off, if you're trying to stay within your comfort zone, you're trying to avoid choosing a hard. And oftentimes that means we are not going to have the type of life that we want, and that we're going to be facing some of those challenges that maybe we don't want to face, whether they're monetary or they're physical, with your physical fitness not being what it could be. For me, I do my best to push myself by looking at others who are in a place where I want to be. This may be some motivation for you, and I by no means have this all figured out. I tend to also want to do what's comfortable. I sometimes find myself going to the gym and just going through the motions, doing the bare minimum, kind of pushing a little bit, but never really pushing to failure. And I feel like I'm leaving a lot of potential on the table, and perhaps you feel that as well. There's another quote I remember hearing where it said, lazy people barely work and think that they are working hard. Hardworking people work hard and worry about being lazy. Something along those lines. And it's super true, because we all have different baselines. We all have different goals and aspirations. And some of us, high performers, we tend to compare ourselves to people who are way further along than us. I'm looking at the biggest fish in the sea. I'm looking at the Grant Cardones and the Andy Frisellas and the Ed Milettes, and I want to be there. I consider myself to have what it takes, and we all really do have what it takes to get to that level. We just have to work very hard for a consistent amount of time for the long run. You just have to show up and put in the work. And Andy talks about 75 hard and doing those challenges and pushing yourself and not leaving anything on the table, even if you cheat on one little thing. If you don't take a daily progress pick, if you don't eat healthy, if you eat a bag of Skittles, you got to start over, right? And that kind of discipline that's what I compare myself to when I want to get to that next level. And I look at people who I aspire to be like, they do crazy things. They push themselves very hard. They wake up early, they stay up late, they get what they need to get done. And I don't personally want to compare myself to the people who are just satisfied with the status quo. They don't want to get any further along in life. They think that where they are is fine and that they live a pretty good life. So there's different options there. I can choose my hard. Do I want to choose the hard of being mediocre and average and not quite having enough money to go on that fancy vacation, or not being able to afford to fix my car if things break down? Or do I want to choose the hard and choose the problem of, what should my next supercar be? It's kind of a different situation entirely. And I'm not trying to say that more money means you have no problems, because I've heard people say that money solves money problems really well. It's really good for solving money problems, but not all problems are money problems. There's relationship problems. There's, again, the physical fitness problems. No matter how rich you are, you can hire a personal trainer, possibly, but it still takes time and self discipline to go to the gym, to train yourself, to push past your comfort zone, to eat the right foods, to shop healthy, to cook healthy, or possibly do meal prepped food that is healthy, versus going the easy route and going to that fast food drive through where the burgers taste great and the fries are nice and crispy, but that's not what you're supposed to be eating. One thing that Andy always pitches is doing 75 hard. If you are not where you want to be, if you're not disciplined, if you're setting goals that you just quit on a couple of weeks in and you're just not finding any motivation or discipline, that may be something worth considering, because my understanding of it, in full disclosure, I have not done it yet. It is on my to-do list, but I do work out. I drink a gallon of water most days. I don't always finish it. I work out, I do some progress pics. If you're seeing this on YouTube, I'm doing a little bit of flexing. Been working out since I was 13 or 14. And so the consistency and the discipline have been something that have been ingrained in me for a long period of time. And the thing is, if you are fit, if you've been working out, if you've played competitive sports at all, I mean, I say competitive loosely, if you played in high school or college or anything like that, you had a little bit of that drive to push yourself, to do a little bit more, to show up for the morning workout. Sometimes you're doing those 2 days before school, after school, jumping in a bus, going to go play, basketball against a competitive school for a tournament or whatever, or even a wrestling match. I did wrestling in high school. And I remember the competitive nature of, you want to win. People are watching you. You do not want to be the person who gets pinned on the mat or gets slammed in 2 seconds. You want to be the person doing that and getting them right, the grapple, and dropping the other person, right, and getting them in a headlock. So those are the types of things, or I guess not a headlock. I don't think you can do that in high school wrestling. It's got to be a quote unquote pin. You can't do a chokehold. You've got to like wrap their head around their leg and hold it together where you're not choking them, but you're able to pin them. And then the ref taps on the floor and does a count. And then after 3 seconds or something, it counts as a pin and that person is out. Those types of things push you to push yourself. You don't want to fail in front of the public, right? There's that accountability piece. So if you can do something like a 75 hard where you're being accountable, you're sharing, you're posting, you're doing that little screenshot where you put a little X through each day as you knock it out, that is a small version of accountability where you're holding yourself accountable and others are kind of holding you accountable as well, because there's that social pressure that you're helping apply to yourself to make sure that you do what you said you were going to do. And if you fail, you own it and you restart. And so I am going to be doing 75 hard here soon. And we're going on a ski trip here for a couple of days in a week or so. So I'm going to wait for that, to be honest, for full disclosure. But before the new year, I'm going to be starting, because it's about time. I stopped putting it off. I stopped coming up with excuses. And part of me thinks like, oh, I'm fit. I drink a lot of water. I already eat healthy. I sleep enough. Part of me is like kind of in my mind saying that I can do 75 hard and that I pretty much have already done it, supposedly. But realistically, in all reality, I have not done it. And perhaps some of that is like a creative avoidance, because I'm a little bit nervous that it is going to be tough. 2 times a day, a gallon every single day, a progress pic. I mean, those things are things that life can get in the way, and you get busy and an opportunity comes up, and maybe you go to a business conference and maybe you're flying out of town and you've got to stay consistent. that has been the stuff that's been like on my mind of, dang, that just sounds kind of inconvenient. And I don't want to have to restart or have to figure out how am I going to go work out outside if I'm going to a place I'm not familiar with. But that is the whole point of that program, as Andy talks about in one of his episodes. I don't know if it's one, I think it's 107 or something, or maybe that's the power list of MFCEO project. But you probably have heard of, if not have already done, 75 hard. And that is something that I think is going to help me get to the next level, because I don't want to choose the easy path. I say that, and sometimes I still do. I mean, I'm human. As a human, I tend towards convenience and comfortability, and if things are good, why push yourself harder? Like that happens to me all the time, where I take my foot off the gas because I kind of think I am sort of where I want to be, but then I realize, no, I'm not. There's so much more. How much potential am I leaving on the table because I'm choosing the easy path over the hard path? So I am going to be sharing this for accountability, for public accountability for all of you listening to this right now. I'll be starting 75 hard before the end of 2022. So I'll be starting it before January 1st. I'm not waiting for the 1st of Jan, but as soon as I'm back from that ski trip, boom, next day, we're starting up. Knock on wood, as long as I don't fall, break something, but we shall see. So ultimately, it's up to you. What are you going to do? Are you going to choose your heart? Are you going to choose to be fit? Are you going to choose to be fat? Are you going to choose to be poor? Are you going to choose to be rich and have the problem of not knowing where to invest your money for the best returns because you have so much coming in? That's the kind of hard that I want to choose personally. Now, choose your hard. Which hard are you going to choose? Which path are you going to take? And I challenge you, if you need a push in your life, if you need to do something more, do a program like 75 hard or join a boot camp. I'm not saying you have to just do something like 75 hard alone. Do something that challenges you, that you're not really wanting to do. Bedros Keuilian, I heard he always does like a 6-week challenge, I believe, where maybe he'll train for MMA with a professional fighter, and then he'll do a rock climbing challenge. And then he was training to do a marathon, and he ran a half marathon or a full marathon to just continually push himself and try something new and just challenge himself in new areas. So I love that idea. I love that concept of constantly growing, evolving, pushing yourself to stay on your toes, to get more done, and to achieve that next level. And so that for me, I'm excited to get started with a program such as 75 hard or whatever else is out there. If you know of anything else, comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, I'd love to see what that is. But I do know a lot of people do know of 75 hard and have done it. If I look up the hashtag on Instagram, out of curiosity, 75 hard, looking it up, there are 1 million posts for 75 hard, and it's followed by 40 people that I know personally. So there's a ton of people who are making it happen, who are taking consistent action and improving their lives. They're not making excuses anymore, right? I'm just looking at a couple of these different posts. One person said, one day I just got tired of looking and feeling like shit. It's hard staying disciplined, working out, and eating the better options, but it's also hard feeling rough, not being confident with your body, and never being motivated to fix anything. And so that's a perfect example of choosing your hard. Either one is hard. Do you want to be out of shape and unhappy and broke? Or do you want to push hard and figure out your fitness, figure out your finances, have amazing relationships with your family members? Personally, I know which hard that I want to choose, and I'm super excited to hopefully continue to make those right choices. And I challenge you to do the same. So I know I've been rambling here. I know I've said the same thing a couple different ways here, but choose your hard and be intentional about where is it that you want to go and what are the actions that you need to take to get there. So I hope you found some value in this episode. Make sure to comment, subscribe, follow me on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, leave a review if you have not already. Make sure to get my free thing, chrisbello.com/free is my complete life tracker. If you have not downloaded that and checked that out yet, I highly suggest you do so. And that'll also help you if you'd like to get little emails once or twice a week about my new podcast episode, some mindset hacks and tips and tricks, and anything else new that I'm launching. So chrisbello.com/free is where to get that. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I look forward to catching you on the next episode.